My name's Justin, and we are going live for episode 12 of Community During Chaos. And we're going to have Wande, Aklesso, and KHAM. And we're going to continue these great conversations that we've already been having. This is week 12, which is pretty crazy. So that means after tonight, I would have spoken to 36 different people about community building and solutions and answers and problems and everything that's going on. I see some familiar faces. So yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. Tell me, I know you've seen the show plenty of times. So the first question, is the same for everybody. What has these last few months been like for you mentally, physically, emotionally? How have you gotten through? And now, something else has happened yesterday, I think it was, right?
Well,
And so yeah, just talk a little bit about that.
man, for me, I would say this, just in all aspects, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's just been trying. It's been draining. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm normally a really just happy, goofy, smileys type of person. But going back to Ahmaud Arbery, when that happened, that was the first time I really kind of consciously dealt with like mental health and like feeling the ramifications of your mental health being attacked and just that energy getting drained out of it, man. Like even like I just said, I'm all right, but to say I'm fully good would be a lie just because there's been this constant like weight that I felt, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's just the weight of my reality, being a young black man in America. And in past times, the past couple of years, every single time something along the lines of racial injustice
Mm-hmm.
happens, of course, I feel that weight because it hits home to me personally. But I'm always able to kind of continue to maneuver through life, knowing that's there, but it's not like I can't like feel it. It's not like tangible. Whereas
Yeah.
here, for some reason, these past couple of months, it's just sat there. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. No, I feel that because I'm always somebody who I never really understood people with, mental health issues. Like if you're not experiencing something, you don't
yeah,
necessarily get it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't feel that I had any, and I really didn't know anybody really close to me that suffered from it. But, after everything that's happening and then, being isolated and quarantined and just so
Yeah.
much chaos that's going on. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, I get it. I don't know if I have a mental health issue, but I'm definitely going through things in my head and my feelings that I've never had before.
It's like you can
And
feel like the tank that was once on full,
right,
just
right,
and you can feel like just my whole mood. Like I just be waking up just upset and just sad and just burdened. Like I think that's
yeah,
probably where really to feel is just burdened, and it was just like
burden.
heaviness. Yeah,
No, yeah, I feel that. Like I was just saying, I didn't get it before and I get it now. And I don't know if I'm necessarily going through it or I'm just feeling the effects of people around me even so, but it's yeah, somebody in the chat just said drained. Drained is a good, it's just like
fact.
you're tired for no reason. It's like you're just tired everywhere. Like you
Fact.
just like a fog. Um, so I mean, for you, how have you been able to kind of harness this? Have you been able to go out, do things in your community? Did you protest? Did you, how have you used your platform? Kind of bring all that together.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say next. Like these past, I'd say this past month, I feel like I've kind of hit a turning point where I've been able to take all those emotions and feelings that I was feeling and try to channel them into more progressive things. So
Right.
for me, it's all about using what you can, how you can. So me, um, as an artist, of course, using my social media platforms to educate and prompt people to action, and always speaking out, of course, against anything racial injustice and racism. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Even as we saw this past Friday with the release in my music and my videos, and then just personally, as far as in the community goes, trying to attack and cut oxygen to anything that's given life to racial insensitivity and racial injustice. So, like I live in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is crazy saying that being me in Lynchburg, but Lynchburg is home to Liberty University, which I know everybody in this. I know all y'all know something about Liberty University. Liberty being myself, someone I was there for my undergrad for 4 years on campus, and them 4 years I spent with a whole bunch of other people combating the racial injustice and
Mm-hmm.
enabling of racial injustice on campus. To which, whether it was demonstrations, protests, petitioning, all that stuff, and
Right.
seeing results of that now after I've graduated, but it's all due to that work. So just trying to do things like that, whatever I can, whatever in my toolkit, man, trying to leverage that.
Yeah, and this wound up being perfect timing for you with I think I asked you to be on the show before you even
Yeah,
I
before I
even like
posted it.
realized that you were releasing the song. Like I think I knew you were releasing the song, but it kind of like didn't click with me. I was like, get Cam. I was like, oh, this is good timing. So you released your track on Friday,
Botham.
um, Botham. So talk about that whole thing. And I've said it a couple of times on Twitter. For everybody watching, check out his new music video he's about to talk about because I think it's the music video of the year. Visually,
Appreciate
the message, production. I mean, it looks like a musical, like it's a mini movie. Like you think about Michael Jackson and his music videos, how they had this big cinematic
it.
story going on.
Yeah,
That's this video. So I'm not going to gas it up anymore. I want you to talk about it, and then I want everyone to go check it out.
but yeah, no. So this past Friday, I released a new single called Botham, along with the video on Friday as well. And bro, it's so crazy with this song because I don't we didn't get to talk about this, but like I created the song in October 2019 when the Botham
Wow.
John case was going on. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the Botham John case, Botham John was a black man who was killed in his apartment building by an off-duty officer who thought that he was in her apartment building. He somehow got confused and went into the wrong apartment, thought he was an intruder, and shot and killed him. So this was when that case was going on. Just the way that case was handled,
Hmm.
it exposed a lot of the injustice and racial things within the justice system. Um,
Right.
I was writing from that place, just talking about my reality. Fast forward to now, um, we're able to use the song in the video really as a tool. That's what I really would like it to be used as. I want people to listen, take it, and then have the same conversation I'm bringing up in the song,
Mhm.
have that with others, and use that as a tool, use that as a visual aid, even. And because the video is very, very intentional. Um, Honestly, even a bit graphic at the end with the ending scene, and but that was all on purpose. You know what I'm saying? I think the response. I've been overwhelmed by the response, honestly, just because like
Yeah.
seeing and hearing about the conversations people are having, um, how people's eyes are even being open. Like I've had people hitting me up just saying like, "Man, I was confused this whole time, but then I heard this and saw this, and just hearing the pain of your voice, seeing the visual to go along with that, it just like shook me awake." And so seeing the song and video do what it was intended to do has been dope, man, for real.
Yeah, can you maybe break down the video a little more? Maybe without giving away the ending.
I don't give
Um, don't give away the ending, but give people an idea of like the narrative of the music video.
So yeah, man. So the whole overarching theme is this phrase, and the phrase is, "What's a good time for a black man in America?" And this was a question that I've been asking myself for years, as a little boy growing up, seeing all these, going back to Trayvon Martin. I mean, that was, geez, what was that? 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm
Yeah.
23 now. I was like 15, kind of processing, going through these things, realizing what it means for me to be black in America. So I'm asking myself, what's a good time for a black man in America? Going through just how quickly my life could go from regular to tragic like
Hmm.
that. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
first verse. And the video follows this. So the video follows myself and a love interest going through just a normal day, like any other day, hanging out, chilling. And as the song goes on, it intensifies. So I start going into more depth about um, what my reality looks like. So it goes from like
Yeah.
a surface level of just some of the things I'm facing to kind of like the repercussions of those things and how they hurt
Hmm.
people or like that look like me, that love me, things like that. So that's what the video kind of follows.
I got one last question for you, and then maybe we can branch into some other things if we got time. But like coming out of this, the chaos and the madness of this year,
Mhm.
what are you looking forward to? Like, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? Where do you hope to see, society go
Yeah,
just coming out of this craziness?
I'm hoping to see change that extends beyond just these conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like these conversations
Hmm.
are very important to brainstorm and figure out ways how we can go about uh, enforcing change. But I just want to see the change. Like um, I would love to see us get to a point to where we're no longer uh, hesitating to believe people when they speak on their reality.
Yeah,
And I'd
absolutely.
love to see us uh, not trying to deflect and avoid these very necessary conversations, making them seem like
Hmm.
they're not. Um, and I start, man, because it's easy to tear apart a disconnected front when you're trying to advance. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So until we all get to that, get to that, get to that place, I feel like that's when we'll be the strongest. So I'd love to see that.
For you, who is someone that you've been able to look up to for guidance to kind of try to walk you through this? Like,
Mm.
do you think for young people going through this in general, like having a mentor and somebody to be like, hey, I just need an older person's counsel right now just to sort of reflect. Who's been that for
And
you, and do you think that's important?
to be honest with you, in this time, I don't think for me it hasn't been necessarily just one person, but it's been
Mhm.
all of us coming together as a
Right.
community, leaning on one another. Like on if there's one day where one of us is just feeling it more than the rest, we lift that person up. You know, vice versa. It might be me one day, they lift me up. You know, so it's been a community of uh, my brothers that are older than me, people that are younger than me, and so we just
Hmm.
really been that community that's kind of held things together for me, honestly.
Right. Somebody asked, what was the most difficult process for you in this project? So for the song and why?
Oh man, I think the most difficult part for me initially was just in creating the song because when I was creating the song, like I did it, I'm here in my room right now, exactly where I created the song, and
Hmm.
just the place I had to go to as far as reflecting on my own reality and having to think through these different scenarios to, then portray them on paper and in the song. Um, it was a very emotional, very scary place to go to, man. So I think that definitely was the most challenging place. But I'm glad that that guy was even able to use that to here we are today. Have this conversation,
Hmm.
conversation being pushed forward because that's my main thing. I don't want us to just stop at conversation. Like
Right.
I feel like that's lazy. That's lazy. And regardless of who you are, where you are, I think one thing I would say before I get off here is just I would challenge you to leverage whatever you have, man. Like whether that's a following of 10 million people, 10 people, them 10 people, would you post them 10, that might open the eyes of them 10 people and change their life. You know what I'm saying? So,
What was the first song in the video?
so I'll give y'all a little exclusive with it. The
Give
first,
us
yeah,
something.
it's unreleased. It's unreleased. It's on an upcoming project that's gonna be very coming out very, very soon. But it's called Thug, which stands for The Hate You Give, which some of y'all might have seen
Hmm.
the movie or even going back farther from my hip hop heads, y'all know the Tupac song. So that's what the inspiration behind it was. So it's kind of like a intro into Botham, if you will. Which, if you listen to like the little half verse that was in there, it kind of starts to set the scene for Botham, kind of addressing
Yeah.
right now, with just how people are reacting to us sharing our reality when it comes to race and racism and standing against these things, and how people are very hesitant and kind of on the fence in their reactions, um, and calling people to do better. So that's what that joint is, man. I don't know if anybody gonna post another question, but I'm gonna just say this real quick before I
Yeah,
get.
go ahead. Take the last word.
Just lastly, man, to my black brothers and sisters who know Jesus, who know Christ, I want to encourage you to just completely immerse yourself in Him firstly and foremost. Um, don't underestimate the power of the name Jesus if you're ever found in one of these situations, because bro, it's demonic, bro. Like it's pure evil what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So I want to encourage y'all with that. Um, and man, Black Lives Matter, bro. That's all.
All right, so give a quick where can we find you? Where can we hear everything? And then for the person, no, you did not miss Aklesso. Aklesso's coming on next. Um, yeah, so just plug away where we can hear you, follow you, and talk to you, and all that.
Yeah, man. So you can follow me on all socials at KHAM Raps, Cam Raps on everything social media. All my music is on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music digitally. So please check out Botham, check out the video, DM me with your thoughts. Continue to push the conversation, man.
Let's do this. Aklesso, here we go. So tell me, with all the craziness that's gone on in the world the last couple of months between COVID and George Floyd and protesting and civil unrest, I mean, you could just have this laundry list of things. What has helped you get through it, and what's that been like for you?
Man, first I just want to say, like, in life, like Cam said it best, like, you can't do this alone. Like, we weren't made to isolate ourselves, and
Right.
we weren't made to, like, do this life on our own. Like, God made us for community. So I'm just like, one thing that's really helped me is like really, really like my brothers and my sisters that just like at our church, my friends here that kind of like hold us out. What's good, Kuzo? What's good, Andre? Yeah, because we're not meant to do life by ourselves, man. And if you
Hmm.
really going through it, if you try to handle it on your own, you're just gonna melt down. You're just gonna shut down. So
Yeah.
that's really what's really been helping me. Community, my homies, a lot of prayer. I've been praying a lot, and I started meditating. Um, Meditation, like taking deep breaths, and just focusing, clearing my mind, and then just focusing on things I'm grateful for. Because I feel like a lot of times we just tend to just focus on the negative, 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 and we rarely take time to just meditate and thank God for the things He's given us. So a lot of meditation, and I've been exercising a whole bunch. So that's what's been helping me, with everything.
Word. And
Mhm.
and how and how have you, if you have been able to go out within your community and take care of things? Did you protest? Were you part of community dialogues? Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Okay, so I live in Miami, the greatest city in the world, home of Trayvon Martin. Trayvon
Hmm.
Martin from Miami. He went to school not too far from here. So what I did is when everything happened with George Floyd, I was a wreck, just like most people in here, just like
Hmm.
everybody in the world. And I was just like extremely, extremely angry and just like, man, I just feel hopeless. And one thing I heard Craig was talking about, he was like, instead of letting these deep emotions like fuel us for negative, like fuel it for positive. And that kind
Right.
of me. So I went protesting, out on the streets, you know what I'm saying, in solidarity with, not just people of color, with white people as well, people who were affected by this, just saying like, no, we're not okay with this. It's not okay. After that, I went to like a prayer rally, um, with the AND campaign. So there's an AND campaign. I don't know if you guys know the AND campaign, but it's essentially a Christian organization that has to do with justice.
Hmm.
My pastor, Muchi Ukebu, he's starting the AND campaign in Miami with another legendary black female named Tabitha Gibson. She's a friend of mine. They're starting the AND campaign in Miami. So I went to one of those, and they gave us like clear instructions, like what does scripture talk about, injustice, stuff like that, and like gave us steps to like how we could actually make change with with different stuff with like voting and just
Hmm.
being part of our community, like not just thinking about like the big election, but like local elections that affect us like real close. So that's some of the stuff I did. And also, like, during the pandemic, I was able to volunteer a couple times, Tuesday and
Yeah.
Thursday, just to get food, to because a lot of jobs got shut down in Miami. A lot
Oh
of
yeah.
a lot of kids in Little Haiti, is like 8 minutes from where I live. A lot of kids in Little Haiti, get a lot of their food from school, but if
Mm-hmm.
school shut down,
They're not getting that food.
they're missing meals. They're missing meals. So we're handing out food to the community and like building relations. And I was doing that a lot on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then I got in like album mode, so I had to like my studio sessions were on Thursdays and Tuesdays.
Right.
I couldn't make it, but the times I could make it, I did about six times that I could make it. It was so that's kind of some of the stuff I've been doing, and not only that, having like conversations with my white friends who don't get it. And I'm not someone that's gonna argue online with people about stuff, but with
Yeah.
people that I genuinely care about, we can have those conversations and dialogues offline. So that's kind of some of
Yeah.
the stuff I did.
Yeah. I've said it a couple of times on this show. Like I have found that the most meaningful and positive conversations you can have with someone is just like this, face to
Yep.
face. When you're dealing with something so heavy and intense, like you can post all the memes in the world, all the stats and everything. But like, when have you ever really seen something that somebody posted like on Facebook or something and be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I changed my whole way of thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened.
It
It's
don't
just
work like that.
it's all people just agreeing with each other or all people saying, this is why I don't agree with you.
Exactly.
But if you sat down with somebody and say, hey, let's really break it down. Let's see some emotion in my face. Maybe I'm going to cry. Maybe you could tell I'm upset. Maybe there's something happy and positive. Getting
Yeah.
that feel for another human being in front of your face is a totally different game changer.
Big facts. That's big
So
facts.
that was another reason why I wanted to do this too. Like, obviously we're not sitting face to face, but this is the best we can do given the circumstance, and people can see us effectively communicating and be part of the conversation that way.
Yeah. So I'm second generation, you know, American. So my dad is Togolese, my mom is Haitian. So
Mm-hmm.
I came here growing up in Miami. It's like you see a black person, it's like, wait, are you Trinidadian? Are you African? Are you
Yeah, you
Haitian?
don't
Are
know.
you Jamaican? Like, are you Cuban? You know what I'm saying? Are you Dominican? But you go to the South and it's just like you either black or white or you're Mexican. Like it's those three. But it's like
Right.
where I'm from, when you're Latino, Hispanic, there's like you trying to pick from 20 plus countries.
Cuban, Puerto Rican,
Cuban,
Honduran, Dominican,
Dominican,
right?
Salvadorian,
Yep.
Honduran. Like my cousin's Nicaraguan. Like you know what I'm saying. So it's like there's in Miami, when it comes to like race, it's like way more complex um than you know what I'm saying in the South. Even though people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you live in Miami, you live in the South. Actually, you got to go north to go south when you're in Miami.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Because it is not the South at all. It's a melting pot.
You're
Like
basically like in the Caribbean.
you, real talk. You're in the
Yeah.
Caribbean. Yeah, you in the Caribbean. So I think like a conversation I had and where someone was asking me like, yo, like you're not like you know where you come from in a sense, like you know the tribe you came from on your dad's side, like you know where your mom came from, you know what I'm saying, like you know your history. But a lot of you know what I'm saying of the blacks that are in the diaspora, the Africans in
Mm-hmm.
diaspora, they don't necessarily know where they came from, so their plight is different, you know, in slavery and different stuff like that. But to me, it's not their plight, it's my plight as well, because it's the same way a racist is gonna look like someone that's from Alabama. They gonna look at me, even though I'm Haitian and because my skin is black. So therefore, even if my skin wasn't black, as children of God, you know what I'm saying. If you say you love God and you see people are being, you know what I'm saying, oppressed
Yeah.
and being mistreated, that's your plight. That is your plight, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of your skin. That is your plight, and you got to fight for the oppressed. You know what I'm saying? You got to. What is James 1 says? good religion is taking care of the orphans and widows. But the premise of that is people who are oppressed and people who are down and out in society. What is good religion? Taking care of those who are oppressed. It's scriptural. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So to me, when I know when you see like other Christians be like, oh, what the heck, Black Lives Matter. Oh, I don't believe that. It's like, yo, what are you doing? You look stupid. Like, you really look stupid. Like, you're really going against everything that Jesus talks about. You see Jesus, he's always with the down and out. And you literally see someone that you would say is your brother or sister in Christ, and you mock their experience, bro, you're a goofy. I'm sorry if I'm getting angry on Instagram. It
You're
just gets
smiling
me
too.
hot how
You're saying it while you're smiling.
I know, because it's, you know what I'm saying? I used to get in trouble because I'd always smile when I was in trouble, but not because I thought it was funny. It's just something I did. But real talk, though, it's like, it's backward. Sometimes I see, people who say they love Jesus just have it backwards. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we saying? What are you doing? What are we reading two different Bibles? Like, you know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just like, yo, it don't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you're black or white, if someone is oppressed, you got to be there for them. And
Right.
not only that, you got to celebrate each other's cultures, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm dating a
Right.
Cuban girl right now. I celebrate her, even though we're different. I celebrate her culture. It's not about assimilating, it's celebrating, right? Celebrate Black culture, celebrate, Hispanic, white, whatever it is. We need to celebrate each other. Like, when you start
Yeah.
having that pride and saying, I'm better, I'm this, that's the root of racism, is pride. I'm better than you. I'm I deserve this, I deserve that. This is my country, whatever it is you want to say. When you start putting yourself up over people, that's how hate comes. You know what I'm saying? So when you celebrate each other, when you're putting people up over you than yourself, you look at Jesus, he literally died for us, put us over himself. When we start doing that, that's when real change comes. That's where love can creep in. That's where conversations like this can happen, when it's not about us. Man, I'm
Right.
preaching. Y'all gotta pay for that. That's $10.99. Pass the offering. Pass the offering. I'm trying to get rich. I'm just playing with y'all.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, even the race dynamic between people that look alike. So
Yeah.
take for instance, you're Haitian. Haitians and Dominicans are on the same island. They look almost exactly alike, but they don't like each other.
They don't
Or
like each other.
the only thing that's different is one speaks French and one speaks Hispanic, and Dominicans will be like, well, we're not black.
One
But
speaks
it's like,
Creole, one speaks Spanish. Yeah.
right. But it's like, no, but you, for the most part, like, you are black. You're both from the same island. You
Yeah.
both came from the same place. It's just a language barrier. Like,
Yeah.
even me, I did, you don't know how many Puerto Ricans or other Latinos that they're like, they kind of deny anything to do with being black. And I'm like, look at me. I took the ancestry DNA thing and I came back 14% African, and it traced me African. And this is me looking like this. So imagine a darker skinned Puerto Rican or someone who's 100% or 75% and not 50% like me, how much African blood is actually in them. It's like, there's all, and especially if you're from that Caribbean area, and even South America, mostly because of all the people that came in that were brought in there as slaves, everybody over there has got a little bit of black.
No cap.
So for people to have that colorism and that sort of like tension between their own people is insane to me. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. And I'm dating a girl. She Cuban, right? And if you know it, like, sometimes Cubans are racist. Let's be honest, and they'll tell you that too. That their
Everybody.
grandparents are racist. They'll tell you that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, her grandpa didn't mess with me at first because I was black. You know what I'm saying? My girlfriend does not play that. You know what I'm saying? And she spoke about it, but then it's like, if you look, the funny thing is, if you look at her grandma, you can tell she got black in her. It's like, yo, what you saying? What? And it's like, it's so funny. Like, if like some of the Hispanics that are racist, if they look at their mom or their grandparents, like they're black. Like it's like, what you doing? Like you look foolish. So it's just
I,
all that is just funny to me, man. I like a lot of times I just laugh at how foolish people are. Like, man, you're really running away from your identity. Like
yeah,
you're running away from your identity, and it's especially Miami is so wild to me. But again, I'm gonna say this, man. When we start putting others before we put ourselves, when we start really looking at Jesus and his life and what he did, really what he did and what he said, bro, all this is different. And you know what I'm saying? It's one thing to you expect the world to be a certain way. People who say they don't know God, like I'm not gonna expect you to hold the same values of me.
right.
If you don't, but if you say you know God and you know it's I try to have grace, but it's like, yo, man, like if you say you know God and you're not willing to open your eyes or even hear people out when it comes to race, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? You look, I don't know, man.
What are kind of your hopes and dreams moving forward? Like you've seen everything that happens in 2020. So eventually it feels like it's going to take forever, but eventually we're going to get to 2021. So where do you hope the world goes then and society goes and how do you think we'd all be doing by then? What would
Man,
you like to see?
I want to be positive, Jay. I want to be positive.
I know, it's tough.
I want to, but realistically, I mean, I feel like right now we're starting to see like real change in
Hmm.
society. Like things are starting to happen, and I want to see real change. But I mean, bro, I hate to be so pessimistic, but I mean, we live in a broken world. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Not saying that we don't protest. Not saying that we don't go and vote for positivity and for change. Not saying we don't stop using our platform, and not saying that we don't stay silent. I think society is gonna get better. I think we're gonna have that's my girlfriend right there, Nibi Rhymes, when I was talking about. I think there's gonna be a lot of I think there's gonna be a lot of change, but at the end of the day, I think we as Christians we got to get it right because a
Yeah,
lot of us are getting it wrong. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Christians stand up and be the ones that are making the change. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be the one making a change. Um, yeah, that's what I'm hoping, and I really want to put my foot on the gas with this. Like personally, this is my belief. I feel like I'm not gonna speak for any other artist, but
yeah,
for me, I feel like I got to be saying something. I feel like I got to be doing something, not just in my music, not just in my words, but offline, and even in the government where I stay at. I gotta be
yeah,
influencing people that way. It can't just be in the music. If you're just doing it in the music, what are you really doing? To be honest,
right.
because then it's just words. Mm.
And let me ask you one more question, and then we're gonna get to Wande.
One
What do you?
day, let go.
She's in the chat. I see
Oh,
her,
she
so
is.
she's here. So you got to get her fired up before you
Yeah,
go.
so exciting.
What do you think, if anything, that people like your age, like the future, should be doing or could be doing better with everything that's going on?
Okay, so I have a couple things. The first thing you need to be doing, you need to be voting. You gotta vote, and you gotta vote really local. That's like the big thing, like local voting stuff. Especially if you live in these major cities, you gotta vote. The second thing you need to be doing, you need to be in community with people that one love the Lord and are about justice. And if you have questions, you need to ask your questions.
Mm-hmm.
In a place where you not someone who's gonna like tell you what you want to hear, but help you. Um, you need to be praying for these things, and you need to be praying for your black brothers and sisters, and you need to be you know what I'm saying? Like there was one more point. You got to be active in your community. You know what I'm saying? Like and really keep up. You need to read too. You got to read books. Lecrae dropped a book list that you should read.
Yep.
For people. I mean, y'all probably have that, or if not, I can send it to y'all so you can post it. Like, y'all need to read books to educate yourself, and you have to listen to other people. We don't want to hear, like, you have to be able to listen and not listen with like a counter argument. You got to listen with the intent of learning. A lot of people listen because they want to argue with you. You got to listen to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a few things, you know what I'm saying, that I feel like you should do. And if you have a platform, you got to speak on it too. You got to speak on it, not even just on your platform, but privately. If you know if you got racist family members, you got to talk to them. Some of the stuff that our families be saying are very racist. You got to talk about. You got
And
to
it's
talk to them. It
hard.
doesn't matter
It's
if they're
not
old.
it's not easy, but you gotta
You
do
got to
it.
do it. And it doesn't matter if they're old. A lot of people have the excuse like, oh, that's how they always been. Or they're 80 or something. That's, come on. You can't give that age excuse. You got to talk to them. You got to talk to them.
Right? You can learn. Every generation learns, has a growth period.
Big facts. Man, thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, man, that's it. We're gonna jump to Wande. Aklesso, it was a great rant. It was a great rant.
Wande!
So Wande, thank you for joining me. And so the first question is the same that I gave to Cam and Aklesso. With all the craziness that has been going on, how have you been able to navigate yourself through this year, physically, mentally, spiritually? Just yeah, just how have you been able to do it?
Yeah, I think it's just honestly, you gotta just have a core foundation that you relate to and you just stick to. So, like, first level, I would say obviously my relationship with God. So that's unwavering. Thus,
Mm-hmm.
with the madness that comes, being rooted in God like helps me remain sane because
Mm-hmm.
I think you can just get insanity from anywhere. Like, honestly, like just knowing that, like, for instance, financially, right? So we talking about COVID took away
Yep.
everybody's
Your
source of
whole tour and everything. Yep.
yeah. And so with that, like, realizing like, okay, with finances in the first place, like my sustenance and my like provision comes from God in the first place. So like even any money I would have had that I lost, I only had it in the first place because God allowed me to have it. So like kind of just restructuring my perspective to that helps me remain sane, knowing that like, all right, if he got me that money that way, he could still get it to me in a different way type stuff. Or, he can provide somebody to help me out type stuff. Um, and just also with the unrest and stuff, like, it's a lot. Sometimes you just gotta unplug, yeah, get off of social media, like, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot that'll just like put you into like a dark place and it's not good. So I would definitely say like just unplugging to like having personal time to sit and reflect, having friends who you can talk to, you can vent
Mm-hmm.
to, have good conversations with, maybe journaling, writing things down.
Yeah.
As artists, like sometimes expressing how you feel in music helps and stuff. So just different things like that.
Yeah, and I've had this all the different people that I've had this conversation with, everyone sort of has that different perspective. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget that it's all right to not do anything because everybody's being impacted differently, right? And if there's all of this coming into you, sometimes you just need to step away and be like, listen, I can't, I can't handle this anymore. I need to take a step back. And before you can use your platform and your voice to actually speak on something, you need to make sure that you're okay first to even, know how to speak on it if you're going to speak on it at all. And I know that happened with Cannon. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago and he's like, yo, I'm done. I just need to get off of social media. He took a month off from everything. And he's like, I need to find God again. I need to find all of this and just get my head right. Cause it's just too much.
Yeah, because I think definitely like I know like even like around like George Floyd time, like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I physically like I could feel myself physically like feeling pain, and I was like, yeah, this is getting too much. Like it was like so much going on that like it was affecting me. So I was like, yeah, it's time to peace out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, that mental health is important to kind of keep your own sanity. So for you, when all that was going on, you said you kind of backed away, but was there anything that you did in terms of community, whether it be protesting or having community dialogue or even anything for COVID that you did?
went back to Texas for a while. So when I was back in Texas with my friends, I did like a protest down there, and so we actually went to the communities that I guess you would call them privileged. So they're like almost tucked away, and like they're living in their own bubble. So we actually went over there because it was like, nah, you're not gonna avoid this. We're gonna let you know that this is going on. And so a lot of them felt really uncomfortable, but you could see that there was also some people who were in support, and they were like, oh yes, yes, I support what y'all are doing. But there were also a lot of people who like were like, like I'm trying to avoid this. I'm not trying to see this right now. And so
Yeah.
I think it was a good place to be, because it was kind of like, no, you're gonna be very aware of what's going on right now. So
Yeah.
and then also just, I don't know, just different things. Honestly, I've been like helping, like, so for me, I'm really good at gathering information and disseminating it. So I'm also just doing things like gathering lists of like links of like scholarships, of gathering links of people who are giving out money, and just making sure that like when I gather those things, I share them out to people like, hey, this is an opportunity, please take it for your
Yeah.
money, stuff like that. Amongst our friends, we've been like having circles of we'll meet up and get on our laptops and like apply for grants, apply for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
employment, like I don't know, different stuff like that. So I would say like mostly that's kind of within my immediate group of friends. I've been doing more things, but also just like whatever I can, just within my resources.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's important. And while you were out there protesting and kind of, that's the boots on the ground approach, was there anything that you observed that maybe isn't highlighted in the media or that people don't talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for us, I mean, we had a peaceful, successful protest, and like people were really nice, like giving water to each other, making sure you're okay,
Yeah.
hydrated and stuff. And I feel like people don't show that, so like a lot of times they just show like,
Yeah.
oh, they're they're causing a ruckus, destroying
Yep.
buildings, and it's like no, there's for every like one that might have things go down, there's probably hundreds of other protests that are very peaceful. So I think people don't show like it's actually you can have a peaceful old time, and spread awareness at the same time.
That's not what gets the clicks. As a
Yeah,
former journalist yourself,
yeah,
no one's clicking on the peaceful protest link. Everyone's clicking on the looting, the rioting, whatever, because that's like, oh, this is craziness. We have to spread this craziness.
yeah.
It's an unfortunate, uh, you know, byproduct of everything. So for you, do you feel like an artist has a responsibility to use their platform to speak about issues, or, do you think that there's like some caveats to that?
I think that you have a responsibility to say something, but I think the level to which you go about it, like how often, I feel like that's where you have like a decision. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you have to say something, because I just feel like, especially with a lot of things going on, even like with the whole Megan Thee Stallion thing, like I feel like if you say nothing, you're also saying something. So I feel like choosing to say nothing is also saying that like I don't care, or it's saying like, oh well, you know, whatever. So I feel like you have to say something, or it's kind of like they say like being neutral is siding with the oppressor. And so I
Yeah.
feel like you have to say something, especially if you have like just with the people who are in your access and your reach, like you have to say something. But I think not everybody is a super like I'm gonna talk about this every day. It's gonna be every single post type
Yeah.
person. And so if that's not you, then that's cool. But I think just like at least say something type stuff with like that matches who you are.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Meg the Stallion by the time we're done with this conversation, by the way. Um, but how do you think that young people in this next generation are doing navigating this craziness of 2020? And do you feel like there's something you wish like older people in the next generation could understand about these younger people?
I would say the young people are doing great. Honestly, like if you look at TikTok, like the younger generation, they getting information out there. Like so they
Hmm.
they are organized, high key, like and creative. So
Yeah.
I would say the younger generation, like they're more open minded. They're more like, okay, we gonna figure out how to get this in like a funny TikTok, but this is a funny TikTok, but I'm telling you something very serious. And so
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
the generation's doing a great job in terms of getting the information out there, making it palatable, that's like entertainment, but I'm actually educating you right now. And so they're high key geniuses. So I would say I wish like the older generation could be more like open minded, because I feel like I feel like the older generation, they're just very fearful, because there's a lot of rules in their time, and like this is how things
Yeah.
are done, this is not how things are done. So a lot of them are just like, oh no, 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 like you don't want to step on any toes, like you don't. And so they're very fearful. But the younger generation, they're like, nah, man, this is not okay. And so I think the younger generation too is really good at just recognizing it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to be educated about a new topic. And now that I have more information, I'm educated. Now it's okay to change my ways. And so, like, there's less of a pride standpoint.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we need to get our parents and grandparents on TikTok.
Maybe
And
that might be the wave, man, to change the world.
it's bad enough to have my parents on Facebook. I don't really need them on TikTok. But we'll see. If it's gonna make the world a better place, we could try it out. Okay, so on a serious topic, and I had Erin Knight on here last week, and she spoke a little bit about this too. So you've heard countless times about how Black women are ignored or the most neglected among all people. And I saw your tweet about people not believing Meg Thee Stallion. You know, you kind of posted something about her getting shot, and like right away, people want to know the facts or they want to know the story. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of, open up about that and explain that further?
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of times if a Black woman just expresses herself, people just want to make you the villain in the situation. And it could be something like, how did I just get shot and then now I'm a bad guy? Like, doesn't make any sense. And so I feel like people, they just kind of always, I would call it like the middle child syndrome. So so if you have like the oldest, the youngest, and the middle child, right? So if something happens to the youngest, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the youngest. So it's like, oh my gosh, like you're okay, and like, older siblings go take care of your youngest, or but if something happens to the middle child, it's kind of like, oh, suck it up, like, suck it up, like, get over it. And sometimes they feel like they're not comforted because they're not the oldest, so they didn't get like the whole like, oh, firstborn, but they're not the youngest, so they're not getting babied. And so I feel like that's like kind of like the same situation I would use to describe this. So it's like if something happens to a Black woman, it's like, oh, well, suck it up, like, don't be emotional. Oh, like, y'all are strong, so be a strong Black woman. And it's kind of like, no, like there's a difference between like being strong, but being strong in something that's like an abusive situation. And so like, yeah, like especially with Megan, like getting shot, and then now people are like, oh, well, suck it up, like, or don't be a snitch. And it's like, no, if someone's shooting you, if you're in an abusive relationship, you need to speak up about it. You don't need to be like, oh, well,
absolutely,
oh, street code, you don't tell about anything. And it's like, this is how this behavior continues, because people don't speak up and people don't say anything. And like that's basically how oppressors win, when nobody says nothing, because everybody's like, oh no, don't say anything. And it's like, no, you have to end the behavior. And so yeah.
My next question for you is again on Megan Thee Stallion, but also now we add Cardi B, and they dropped the song WAP, and it's being heralded as this great movement for feminism and female empowerment and all of that, and it's being praised, and it's a pretty intense video. I'll leave it at that. But like, how do you feel about all that, and hearing things like that is female empowerment? And I know you yourself, as a female making music, you feel that your music is empowering. Mm-hmm. I'm sure. And that's left and right, two totally different fields of empowerment. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a very interesting world. I don't know. It just depends. So, it depends on your spectrum of being open-minded. It depends on your spectrum, I guess, in your view on like sexuality and stuff like that. So I don't know. It just depends. So, I mean, because if you're married, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. But I mean, if you're not married, then it's a different situation. So I feel like with them, I don't know. It's kind of hard to speak to it, because if you're not trying to make something that glorifies God, then it doesn't matter. Like, you're just living your life. But if you're trying to make music that glorifies God, then it's a different situation. So I would just say that, like, I don't know. I don't really know how to, I guess, address their situation, because in one aspect, like what they're talking about, like, it's not the best example for people who are not married, obviously. But if you're married and you're talking about that I'm doing this, whatever, then I guess live your life. So that's how I guess I would like address that situation.
How does that equal female empowerment? I would imagine it's because, often you hear rappers talking about women and degrading women and talking about what they're doing. Yeah, you answer this question.
Yeah, I guess also what I would say too is kind of like, so from this perspective too, like a lot of guys talk about the same thing, and they're the ones picking up the most. So it's kind of like, if you're a guy and you have songs about the same exact subject, I feel like you shouldn't have anything to say about that, because then you're literally you're literally looking at yourself and doing the same thing. So I would say, like, if you're gonna criticize it, then live a lifestyle that's like applicable to uphold being able to criticize it. But if you're literally doing the same thing, then you really have no room to kind of like talk in the situation.
Right. So like you should equally have a problem with like Wayne or Drake or whoever else talking about the same subject matter as Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's why people see that as empowering, because it's like, oh, look, they're doing it back. You know, this is what the men do all the time. So now the women are doing it. So now this is us taking control, like our empowerment. They're degrading men, kind of, in a way. So Wande, for you, moving forward into the next year, I can't believe out of all of this terribleness, this year is almost over. So what are your kind of your hopes and dreams for the future coming out of all of this? What would you like to see the world look like?
I think I would like to see a lot more of just open-mindedness, a lot more like, you know, sharing love and like supporting each other. I think supportiveness is like the encompassing word. Just coming out of this, I think a lot of people, maybe this has humbled them to realize, hey man, everybody's struggling. So there is no like, oh yes, I'm better than you, situation. So I would love to see people just collaborating more. People, yeah, just extending one hand to help each other more. I think a lot of things right now are more just like, more people are more approachable. People are more willing to share, do things. So I would love to see that a lot more. I think, I mean, one thing that'll be interesting, I'm like to see, is like concerts and stuff like that. I don't really know how we're gonna get back into that world. So I would love to see what that's gonna look like, because it would be fun to go on a tour. But I don't know when that's gonna happen. Maybe 2 years.
Right.
I don't know. Um, but yeah, I think I would just love to see people be kinder. Be less reckless. I feel like God's giving us signs. Y'all kind of wilding, so you need to calm it down. So, but we'll see.
Have you felt during this time that you've seen, especially within the CHH community, do you feel like everyone has come together more and kind of been like, hey, we're all in this together. How can we move forward? We're all struggling right now.
A little bit, I
A little
guess.
bit.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's kind of like, I feel like, I guess our generation has collabed more in general.
Right.
So I feel like it's just kind of maintaining what we already had going. But I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've seen that. I guess with the summer 20 playlist, whatever, like it was a lot of collabs
Yeah.
going on. And I think I have seen a lot of collaborations just like in like little pockets. I feel like there's still growth though to happen though. I feel like, because I was discussing this with my friend, I feel like it's still a lot of a mentality of like, I'm an individual brand and then I bring someone into my brand. And that's the collaboration versus like a whole crew of collaboration. So I feel like that's where we need to grow. Because I feel like, especially if you look at just like 116 in general, like when it started, like they rolled as a clique. It was a clique, like,
Yeah.
and it was like everybody's collectively building this 116 mentality of being unashamed. And so I feel like that's where we need to grow, because I still feel like everybody's individually doing their thing and then trying to grow, but it's much easier if everybody's collectively trying to grow and push one ideology, one situation.
Right. Yeah. Marcus and Ace, for everyone listening, the two of the guys at Reach who are pushing the needle behind the scenes, they described this new 116 playlist as kind of like, a cookout, and everybody's invited. You're on the list. We want you to come here. We want you to come here. So it gets rid of that cliqueness of the clique, like you were saying, and just kind of opens it up for everyone to be part of the party. Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, how do you feel within the genre dealing with the racial injustice?
I think our genre, I mean, it's filled with Black people, honestly. So it's kind of like with racial injustice, it's directly affecting the artist.
Right.
So I would say, right, in terms of our genre, I feel like people are pretty vocal. I feel like I haven't seen anybody like avoid it. So I feel like on the artist side, like people, they're handling the job, informing people, letting people know what they need to do. But I feel like maybe on the fan side is the opposite. Because if you look at some of the comment sections, some fans, like someone sent me something reckless like the other day, like talking about like what they sent me. They sent me something like, "Oh, you see what will happen if it was like an analogy of like there was an active shooter in a mall, and then the police ran to come save them. And they were like, well, if we defund the police, who's going to run in to come save them? And it's like, if I have $1 billion and I give you $1 million, you can still get the job done for $1 million. You still have $1 million. I'm just saying you don't need $1 billion. That's basically what we're saying. And so, stuff like that.
Yeah, I just people like to go to the extreme of every sort of concept or idea that's presented. People like to go totally extreme. Like even just saying something as simple as Black Lives Matter. It's like we're just saying Black people matter, and it's like Marxist, atheist, and they hit you with all like the bad stuff. Or then you talk about, oh, I'm a Christian, and they're like, hates this person against this person. It's like, no. We're talking about the basic concept here. So again, and there's another concept, defund the police. It's just saying allocate money to other areas to help the police instead of overwhelm them. But people hear that,
honestly,
and they say, oh, they're gone.
Concept. Like, it's
Yeah.
much easier to maintain than to fix. You can see the same concept in your human body. It's much cheaper to spend $30 at the grocery store, eat fruits and vegetables, than to spend $30,000 at the hospital because you ate McDonald's every day. And so, the hospital's a great place. It's great, but it'd be much better if we just maintained our body so you wouldn't have to go to the hospital in the first place. Same concept with the police and us. Police, great, saving lives. But it'd be much better if there was no reason for the police to even have to police. If you didn't steal people's stuff, if you didn't, if you weren't out here being reckless. So it's much better to have systems in place to like help people so that way they don't even have to result to situations that result in crime. So if I make sure that there's housing, if I make sure people have good mental health, I probably won't rob you if I have a house. I probably won't rob you if I have a way to eat every day, stuff like that. And so
Absolutely.
it's like, let's first cover people's basic needs so that way they won't even have a reason to commit a crime in the first place. And so that's basically all people are saying in general. Instead of allocating $1 billion here to stopping and shooting people for committing crimes, why don't we take $1 million out, put it in housing, so that way now I have a house, so I'm not robbing people trying to eat, every day. And so that way I don't end up in the hands of police in the first place. So it's actually it's really brilliant concept.
And that's when you drop that meme, when the guy's pointing to his head, like, think about it. All right. Somebody said, how do you balance artistic creativity and honoring God? Like making sure your presentation doesn't take away from your mission to God.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of spending time with God. Whatever's inside of you is what's going to come out. So that's basically all you have to do. Just make sure you're staying fed with the Spirit of God. So whenever you create, as a result, that's what's going to happen. And then, I mean, obviously, when you recreate, like you'll feel the Holy Spirit. I mean, the Holy Spirit in you. I would hope you would get convicted if something's off, but for the most part, like you won't even be thinking of making anything reckless if you're feeding yourself with God. So,
where can everyone follow you, listen to your music, plug away, let everybody know if there's anything going on, whatever? Now is your time. Take the time.
all right. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me at OMG. It's Wande. That's my website. It's everything. My music. My name is Wande. So WANDE. Go on all streaming platforms. It's great. We love to see it. YouTube, everything. And yeah, I mean that's basically how you killed me. Also, I have my community phone number, so if you hit the contact button on my Instagram, you can text me, and you can get updates that way. So it's a situation.
All right. Oh, wait. All right. This is the last question. It's a good one. And we'll end it there. You already gave your plug. So everybody, there's your plug. Go follow Wande. But what do you think the church has learned during the events of this year?
I think they've learned that the church is not just the building, the church is the people. And I think people have learned effective leadership because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of churches where people were burnt out. So actually, this is a blessing because for people who are overly nice or for people who have crazy leaders in their life, they've gotten the time to not have to go to church every single day and overwork themselves, And so I think they've learned like, oh, wait, there's certain things we can do without calling people here every single day. Or, oh, there's certain things that can actually get done. I think some churches have learned how to use online systems. This is great. It's a great educational time to learn how to use the internet, set up an online service situation. Yeah, so I think it's been a great time too, just of learning too, like who's rooted Because if you really ain't about this life, this is a great time to fall off. So I think the church has definitely also learned like the importance of rooted. I think it's learned the importance of like immediate community too, like small groups. For churches that are larger, small groups are very important because especially if you're not rooted with at least like a immediate group of people who you can talk to about what's going on right now, it's also a great time to get isolated. So I think the church has just also learned the importance of like the core structure. Jesus, he was smart. He rolled 12 deep. 12 disciples, had his immediate group, and from that immediate group, they changed the world. And so I think it's just kind of getting back to the basics of how it all started.
All right, dope. Wande, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to talk to you soon. I hope to see you on a concert or something at some point in the near future. That would be nice, right?
Hey man, you might even see a special performance pop up. You never know.
I know, like another month or two would have been at A3C.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For a year, since last year. That's crazy.
That's wild.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Be safe. Thank you so much. All right, but that's it. So thank you to KHAM, thank you to Aklesso, and thank you to Wande. I will see you all next week. Have a good night. Be safe. And remember, take what you heard or learned here tonight and try to apply that to your life. Be inspired to make a change in your community. So that is the whole purpose that I'm doing this show. So have a good night. Peace.